Hidden Stories Healed Now. Boy, do we have a great episode for you today. I have to tell you that, when we think about life, we think about challenges, we think about all aspects. There's so many things to consider when we're trying to balance and make things work. Today's episode is a special one. And it's special because we're talking about how you choose that special baby that you want. You get to choose. You're not having it. It's not coming from you, but you get to choose that chosen one. We're going to talk a little bit about the things that happened around that, emotions, challenges, and all of the things that go along with that journey. It is extremely my pleasure and honor to have back my friend that you have seen on another episode, Dr. Tinisha Parker. And she's going to help us emotionally get through all of these things and to really think about what that hidden story means. And now I got to talk about my Sarah. Okay, little ski, we here again. And all of our Sarah. And one of my sisters, I have known her for a while. She's a business partner. I love her to death. Is Karan Rhodes. She is the CEO of Shockingly Different. And they do a lot with leadership development. But I want to talk really about the good stuff. So let's get going. So welcome. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Karan, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your story of being adopted.
Yes. Thank you, Vicki, for having me. And I thank you for giving me the courage to come on your show. It's a story that I haven't told that much throughout my life, but it's a story that I think some people need to hear. So my first disclaimer is that I had the best parents in the entire world. I was so blessed, never wanted for anything, and am so thankful to God for allowing that to happen. But part of my story is that when I was 8, my parents let me know that I was adopted. And it was a lot for an 8-year-old to deal with. I was shocked, not disappointed, but curious about who my birth parents might have been. And this was back in the time when you didn't have stars adopting, babies of color. And it wasn't cool, per se, to talk about kids that were adopted. And I grew up in the Deep South. So in the Deep South, it was kind of kept quiet, those kind of things. We just kind of managed them very quietly. So when I was informed that I was adopted, I asked my parents. I told them that I loved them to death. It was different, but who were my birth parents? And I still remember, it's still raw to this day, that my mother just fell out crying. She fell to the floor. She was disappointed that I was curious about them because she thought that they were trying to be the best parents that they could be. And it hurt her that I was even curious about my birth parents. So I think I had a little bit of PTSD with that. Kind of progressed over the years. About a couple years later, I asked again if I could find out who my birth parents were, and the same kind of reaction happened. And so it was hard for, at that time, a 10-year-old to deal with. And I made the decision at 10 that I loved my parents so much that I would forego ever trying to find out who my birth parents were. And if you were from the Deep South, you kind of know there's a lot of that happens. There are people that couldn't take care of their kids or had kids out of wedlock or whatever that story was. And we were just a nuclear family. There were just other aunties or grandmothers or uncles and grandpas that would take in those kids that maybe didn't have a stable home. So I was always wondering if any of my aunts were my real mothers or if there was a nuclear family member, that was my true birth mother. But because of the hurt it caused my mother, of my curiosity, I decided I did not want to hurt her in that way. That was my gift to her.
Oh, well, I think that says a lot when you say it's your gift to her. And I know that it takes a lot to actually take that in. I have a lot of feelings when I hear you say it. And I know that, you want to say, I love you on this side and I really care about you. It has nothing to do with that. I just want to know who they are, right?
Exactly.
And what that looks like.
Exactly.
We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk further about Karen's journey. We'll be right back.
Every story has a hidden element that is not often shared. Hidden Stories, Healed Now, with host Vicki Wright-Hamilton, seeks to share the hidden gems in real-life experiences. Our guests are ordinary people sharing their stories of overcoming insurmountable odds while providing hope and inspiration.
Hidden Stories, Healed Now was a passion of mine. Why? Because I believe ordinary people have a journey too. So many times in order to tell your story, they look for celebrities. They look for household names. Well, guess what? My life is just as important. The things that I've learned and the things that I've gone through, someone else can benefit off of. I don't have to be a household name. So as we all have ordinary journeys, I wanted those stories to be told. And see, when we tell the things that are hidden, we're helping somebody else. The whole reason of doing this is how many people can I help? How many lives can I change? How many people can find solutions in what they're dealing with? It's important to me that we make this world a better place to live in. And we do that by sharing experiences. We do that by talking to each other. See, I created this model a little while back, and I thought about what are all the aspects of life that we have. We talk about spirituality, health, financial, community, family, and career. And any time in our lives, one of those can go upside down, something can happen. And it impacts us. And what it does is it puts things on our side that we say, I've seen that story before. I don't want to go down that path because we haven't really dealt with what really happened. So I encourage you, in order to have a better holistic life of all areas of your life, let those stories out. Deal with the pain that's in the pit of your stomach, the secret that you've held behind, the thing that bothers you, the thing you're curious about, the thing that keeps you up at night, the thing that you just don't understand and you're looking for explanations. Let those stories out. Talk to someone. Let someone else hear where you're going because you never know who can help you. So let's take all of those hidden stories, all of those things that we don't want to talk about, and heal them so you can heal yourself. So welcome back. Welcome back. We're going to continue our conversation with Karen around adoption. So Karen, after you realized that this was hard, and you said that, you didn't want to disappoint your mother, how has that affected you within your life and your decisions going forward?
Well, now that I'm a licensed psychologist, I kind of self-diagnosed myself once I got through school. But I think at the time, when you're adopted, I think any kid or anyone who is adopted feels wants to have an intense sense of belonging. And I think because of that need for me, guided my life. I always wanted to fit in with people. I always wanted to make people happy, because in the back of my mind, I always wondered why my birth parents gave me up. And I never wanted to do anything for anyone to give me up again. There was a lot of imposter syndrome going on. There was a lot of gremlins talking in my head. And so I think that a lot of the goals that I set forth for myself, and the way I interacted with others, I would do my best to try to make them happy, please them, try to fit in, because I never wanted to not be chosen again. And I will say my parents, when they let me know when I was young, they did have the whole story about, we chose you. You were so special because we chose you to be part of the family. So I held on to that, along with wanting everybody else to choose me as well. And that happened throughout college and work and what have you. I've always wanted to be that star person, or the one that people wanted to go with, hang with, talk to, counsel with. That's how it kind of affected me.
Well, you definitely are a confidant, and you're definitely a friend. So I can relate to that. I could definitely see that. So, and it's interesting because, as a person, that total relationship and what relationship means, that's part of who you are. And it's such a joy to be around you, because you want to make everybody feel warm, and you're very welcoming and warm. So, I choose you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So, Tinisha, after hearing Karen's story, I'd love to get your thoughts, from a therapist perspective, and really understand any questions that you may have and what you're hearing from Karen.
Thank you, Vicki. First, let me say, Karen, thank you for being willing to share that story. It's a deeply personal story, and there's a lot of emotion attached to that, and I'm sure it resonates with a lot of people. As you spoke, I could tell and hear the love of a child for their parent.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes parents don't understand how much truly their kids love them unconditionally. And for you as a 10-year-old to be able to put aside your genuine desires of answering a question about who you are and where you came from, so that you would not cause pain to your parents further, I think was very mature. I also think that children understand adoption and the sense of belonging in a different way than adults do. So one of the things that I thought about as you talked about your multiple questions of your parents and their reactions, and you making that decision, is once you became a parent, and understanding the love that you felt for your children, and hearing you say you never wanted to not be chosen again, and inherent in that never wanting to not be chosen again is the feeling of not being good enough.
Absolutely. Sometimes.
And I was curious about, what is it that you think you had to truly give up and let go so that you could move forward in your life and become the very accomplished person that you are, and the very loving person that you are. And then we're going to follow that up with, as you parent, how are you monitoring your own expectations and wishes and desires, and monitoring how they are impacting maybe the desires and wishes of your children?
We're going to come right back after our station break, and we're going to find the answers out to that. We'll be right back.
Every story has a hidden element that is not often shared. Hidden Stories, Healed Now, with host Vicki Wright-Hamilton, seeks to share the hidden gems in real-life experiences. Our guests are ordinary people sharing their stories of overcoming insurmountable odds while providing hope and inspiration.
When we think about Hidden Stories Healed Now. One of the things that is very obvious is that all of us have a journey. Everybody has challenges, trials, and tribulations. Whatever it is that you are experiencing, whatever challenge that may be, whatever hardship that you've gone through, those things that we keep in the closet that we never talk about, those hidden things keep us from being healed. We need to talk about them, even if it's with a trusted confidant. You need to deal with them because what happens is that they stay with you anyway. It can affect your ability to move forward in any capacity in life. It can have impacts on your health. So one of the things that I always say, let the stories go. Let the emotions out. Let the conversations begin so that you can become healed, so that you can move forward. All you really want is that freedom, the freedom of not holding it back anymore, the freedom of not feeling it in the pit of your stomach, the freedom of not saying that, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed. See, that's why we keep things in the closet. We either are embarrassed, we don't want anybody to know, it makes us feel bad. And no one wants to hurt. No one wants to be in pain. So talk about it. Find that thought partner, that confidant, that therapist, that person that allows you to be you and accepts you for who you are. So heal yourself by letting the things out. Hi, welcome back. So Karen, I'd love to hear your responses and understand where you are.
Absolutely. Those are great questions. And it's something that you kind of evolve over time. You take it day by day. One of the things that I've had to give up is the curiosity. Well, I won't say give up the curiosity, but the not having anger around not being able to know my full story. It was a sacrifice, but it was one I've come to peace with, which was okay and really tough, but it was okay. And the way I parent my daughter, it's actually brought us closer together. I tried not to project any need for her to hide any part of herself, and embrace that throughout raising her from a baby and letting her embrace her full story. And she's a wonderful, accomplished young lady, and I hope I've done that. I hope I've done that really well.
Yes, you have. Yes. Our baby.
I know.
Yes.
That is wonderful. I just want to say that I believe that when children find out that they're adopted and their parents share this information, there is definitely work that parents who adopt children should embark on, and those agencies that work with those parents, and helping them understand that a child can truly love you as their parents, and they won't even call you adoptive parents. You're their parents, but there can be an inherent interest in where I came from and who birthed me, and that those things are not mutually exclusive. And having a desire to know the other does not deny the love and acceptance and presence of who has raised you. And I hope that going forward, if people are listening to this and we have adoptive parents out there that are doing the wonderful work and that have chosen amazing children, that they realize that just as when we raise children, if you did birth them and send them out into the world, you have to trust and believe that everything you've poured into this child is going to be the foundation of how they love and view you. And you let them go out and you let them explore. And part of that exploring, if you have an adoptive child, is exploring where they came from. Absolutely. Those are very natural questions for a child to have. And I wish peace and love among any adoptive family out there that is struggling with this, and would encourage them to get help if it's a struggle, so that they can work through this collectively as a family.
Well, right before we end, I have one more question I'd like to ask you, Karen.
Yes.
As being adopted, what would you tell the adoptive parents out there from an adopted child perspective that they should do?
Yeah, absolutely. Three quick things I'd love to share. One is regarding healthcare of adopted children, making sure that whoever their pediatrician is or doctors are, do full battery of tests since you don't have that health history. That helps, keeps one mentally and physically healthy. The second one is actually seek help and guidance. I wish as a kid that therapy and mental health awareness was really more popular and more accepted, and we're getting better these days. But definitely would love some movement on that. And as Dr. Tinisha said, absolutely seek assistance. And then the third thing is also parents, make sure that you have your kids take the DNA test to help them understand their backgrounds, their tendencies, to keep them healthy in mind, body, and spirit.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank both of you for being on the show today.
Yeah,
wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I know that was hard, but I appreciate you sharing it with the audience and taking that confidence to the next step.
Thank you.
There are so many out there that, are struggling on both sides.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. Again, join us next week for another episode of Hidden Stories Healed Now. Remember, every time you let a hidden story out, you're gaining the freedom to move forward. See you next week.